Hello and welcome to the Utah Puck Report. I'm your host, Jay Stevens. Our guest today is somebody that I shouldn't even have to introduce. I mean, basically, you should be introducing me, Adrian. This is your wheelhouse, right? You've been doing this a lot longer than I have. Adrian Denny, longtime voice of the Utah Grizzlies, longtime everything for the Utah Grizzlies, and currently with the Tucson Roadrunners. Adrian, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay. I love your t-shirt today. That's awesome.
I had this ordered. I knew we wouldn't have any Utah gear in time to do some shows, and I've been doing some stuff with Ryan Smith, and the first time I met with him, I just happened to be wearing a Vegas Golden Knights shirt,
Yeah.
and then the next time I was wearing a West Point shirt, which a lot of people thought was Golden Knights, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get whatever I can to affiliate with our new team. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I ordered these right away and had to put it on for the special occasion today.
I love
Um,
it. I love it. I don't have that one, believe it or not. That's a rare item of Roadrunner clothing that I do not have in my closet.
yeah, I bet. I don't even know. Honestly, I just got on and I ordered whatever was kind of left for that
Uh-huh.
season. So I was lucky to get anything that fit. Adrian, tell us a little bit, like, let's go back and how you got into broadcasting and how you ended up affiliated with the Utah Grizzlies.
Yeah, I started with the Grizzlies when I was in college, University of Utah. I was a mass communications major and big sports fan, big everything fan. Was going into broadcasting. Wasn't sure if that was going to lead me to FM radio. That's kind of what I wanted to do, but always was a big sports fan, big sports radio fan. Listened to all of our broadcasters in Utah, Hot Rod, Steve Klauke, Bill Marcroft. Those are my favorite guys growing up. But one thing led to another. Started an internship with the Grizzlies. Started an internship at KFan Radio, which was the flagship home for the Grizzlies, the Jazz, and the Stingers, Bees at the time. And one thing led to another, and did on-air stuff with both. And in 2005, took over radio play-by-play for the Grizzlies. We had a TV play-by-play on KMYU, and which was the dream job in my hometown. That's why I stayed for so long. And in 2018, an opportunity came along with the former Arizona Coyotes organization for me to go to Tucson and start there with the organization, and it was a good fit. When you're in Salt Lake, uh, quality of life is a big deal. So it was going to take not only a good organization but a good place to live for me to leave. And Arizona presented that. It was hard. There's a lot of tears, but it was a career move. We all have dreams and goals, and took that step, and it's been a great 6 years in the desert, and have enjoyed every second.
Did you kind of meet the Arizona, management when when the Utah Grizzlies had the affiliation with Arizona, or was that completely separate?
It was so fast. We never really got connected. Wayne Gretzky was here for the press conference, and it was the NHL lockout year,
Uh,
0405, and we just they were in contact. I never was. I was the pregame intermission, postgame radio host at the time, and did our weekly talk show. And I was more full time at KFan that season. So I was never really quite connected with anybody there, obviously, than being one of the 500 people at the press conference that shook Wayne Gretzky's hand.
Still pretty amazing to be able to do that. Um, I'll have to tell you about my Wayne Gretzky story one time
All
too.
right.
It was pretty well. I'll just tell you now. We're on a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Back when I was doing the equipment, I used to be an equipment rep, and I was working for a stick company at the time. It was called Innovative, and I was also working for Brian's goalie equipment. So I'd go to all the rookie tournaments and all that stuff, set up equipment, hand out sticks. And one day I'm just sitting, I just kind of walked in and sat down after setting up all my sticks, and I was watching the Arizona Coyotes. I think it was the Phoenix Coyotes back then. I was watching their guys warm up, and I was watching one of the goalies. Man, I wish I could remember his name because he ended up playing for the Grizzlies. But I was watching this goalie. I think he was out of Cornell, and I'm like, man, that kid could move. And I was talking to the other rep. So there was the Bryan's rep, and then the Louisville rep. That's how long ago it was. And I just said, he and I were talking back and forth, and all of a sudden this voice behind me goes, "Do you really think he's that quick, or is he just that smart that he's reading the play before everybody else? And I'm like, well, and I turn back to look at the guy, and it's Wayne Gretzky. And I literally, I don't get starstruck very often, but I was like, I felt like I knew what I was talking about with goalies, and then I turned around and realized there's nothing I can tell this guy that, like, I just it humbled me right away. Maybe if you're really dumb, I felt like I should just go sit down and not say anything else for the rest of the night. But he was very cool, and it was I don't know how he got behind us without us seeing him, but very cool guy.
Yeah, I've never talked to Wayne, but I know his brother Keith Gretzky, who's the assistant GM for Edmonton and the general manager of the Bakersfield Condors in the AHL. And yeah, I can see all that happening just because I know Keith, because he's kind of the same way. Just an engaging, charismatic, spontaneous, warm guy.
Yeah, they seemed awesome. Um, so tell me, I want to talk a little bit more about Utah before we move on to Tucson too, because you had to, like, you're getting your degree in mass communications, but when you work for a four-letter league, as a lot of people like to call it, you have to do so many things. I've had Jared Youngman on the show quite a bit, and we've talked about, like, he's ticket sales, he's vice president over this, he's a group sales, there's so many things you have to do. Do you think for a lot of guys that it's better to start out somewhere like that so you learn everything and then move up?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the more that you learn, the better you become at the job you really want. I'm a better broadcaster because I was able to multitask in marketing and PR and community and broadcast operations. Getting a web stream going and troubleshooting stuff if something goes wrong during the game. Nothing phases me. I can get through anything. I can have any conversation. I'm not gonna get flustered. And it's good because have always, I'm an intense guy, but multitasking and doing 10 things at once is really honestly kind of mellowed me out and made me better at everything by just kind of, not living in every moment, but understanding what's important, what's next, what needs to be handled now versus, oh gosh, we missed that. It's like, well, we missed that because of this. And it's just kind of being able to look at big picture stuff. I things help helps with little details and being being a broadcaster. Nothing's gonna rattle me. In fact, I should probably get rattled a little more. But
Well, it's
but
good to get to that point, right?
that's what I'd say had the biggest effect on me. Plus, as a broadcaster, I I've marketed. During the broadcast, we need to sell tickets. We need to promote the next game, and being in that mentality, I think is huge too. Of understanding all aspects of the business and how a broadcast is, really incorporating everything if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I think there's so many people could learn from you. And it was funny for me. This was, I've been in radio basically my entire life since I was 12 years old, starting at Power 99 and then, notoriously with K-Bear for a long time. So I had that side down, but and then I was, a hockey player, but for me to tie them in together for this podcast was one thing, but to cover the draft for the first time, the NHL draft, I'd been to one before, but never as a broadcaster. And to sit down and watch how some people absolutely shorted out if things didn't go exactly
Yeah.
as they were told it was going to go, I was like, look, man, you got to adapt and overcome. Like,
Yeah.
there's 1,000 guys here trying to do the same job. And when we drafted Iginla, who we just signed today, by the way, which is pretty amazing. We'll have to talk about that too. But when we drafted Iginla, everybody all of a sudden wanted to be part of the Utah part. So even just where I had my table set up, it got completely overran. And in one you could panic or whatever, but you can be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what's happening. Let's just adapt and overcome. I saw a lot of people not have that ability. So
Totally. And
yeah,
just being able to communicate, and you end up in so many different situations, the more tasks and the more hats you're wearing, and you gotta be able to figure out, how do this is my end result. How do I get there with this in the middle of it
Yeah.
without freaking out?
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to teach unless one of the best sayings in coaching hockey is there's no better teacher than the game. And I think that's the same for the broadcaster. Like, and I'm not just talking about doing the game, I'm talking about all the other stuff to get set up. And you can go to college and you can think you can figure it out. But man, when you get a job with the Utah Grizzlies and I'm not picking on the Grizzlies, any team in the East Coast League, they're going to give you 30 hats to wear and you're going to have to make it all work. And like for
Yeah,
me, it's just weird. I'm a boomer, whatever. That's what the young guys of the fire department think. And to try to figure out how to do a stream and to do all this stuff, and it's a lot.
yeah, you've always got to be evolving, no matter what, whether you're a hockey coach, whether you're a broadcaster. 25 years ago, nobody was doing podcasts. We weren't writing web features. That's what I've been doing this morning. I've been transcribing a podcast interview I did with our director of hockey operations in a rapid fire of every free agent that's been signed so far. And I don't think guys 25, 30 years ago could pull this off. That Monday's podcast day, Tuesday video report day, Wednesday got to transcribe the podcast because we need a web feature. I
Yeah.
I think it's great, and I've talked to all of the coaches that I've had. You can't stay how you did something 5 years ago, or you're gonna get totally passed up. And I've learned more from hockey coaches than anybody else in the business, because they've got 25 guys that they have to find a way to get each guy going, and each guy takes a different way, a different process, a different mode of communication.
Yeah. And what a great point. Like that is a lot to manage and those guys do give a lot of great life advice. Let's talk about your podcast a little. So do you basically do player interviews and do you interview tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, the Tucson Roadrunners Insider Podcast, weekly, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, like, subscribe, download, all that stuff. But yeah, it's personality based. It's me. During the summer here, Kim Kodoroblis, our PA announcer's been with me, and we talked to a player. We just talked to him about life. Hockey comes up. We just kind of break everything down, and I see podcasts that go from April to October and don't have anything during hockey season. We're filling an hour every week, no matter what. Player signings, schedules coming out this week, AHL playoffs, maybe some inside information that I've been able to gather that we can kind of gossip and have some fun with. So it's personality based. It's me and Kim, me and Johnny. We just have a good time. It's an hour. It's your weekly hour of hockey, and it's my passion project. When I first got to Tucson, I told two of my guys, we're starting a podcast here. You're hosting it, and you're hosting it. And then COVID and all that stuff, and all of a sudden, staff's down to me, and our season's starting up. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm hosting this podcast. I grabbed one of my interns. I said, "You're hosting a podcast with me. Let's go." And 4 or 5 years ago, it's kind of become my passion project. It's honestly the outside of the play-by-play, my favorite thing we do. After every Saturday night game, we wrap everything up, go back to the press box, and have an overreaction podcast with post game clips, post game interviews, and just kind of talk about our weekend, and that gets our hour going.
Yeah, but how do you get all that stuff done so quick? Is that all you or how many staff do you have doing this now?
I have a great staff, and we crank and we work, and it's whatever needs to be done, we get it done. And it's a mentality, and it's starts in the interview process a lot of the times before, and just identifying people that want to come on board, be 24/7 because they want to reach their goals, and you know be you know be the best possible thing they can be, because we're not wasting any time.
Yeah, you gotta. the pro sports side of things, people don't see like the equipment managers, the radio play-by-play guys, like the TV play-by-play guys. It's not just show up, turn on a camera, and go. There is so much that goes into it. You live at the arena. You live with the team. I don't know where you get any private life going. It's so much work. It's crazy.
Do you know what we do on lazy Sundays? And sometimes if we're just totally fried on a Saturday night, we'll do our podcast on a lazy Sunday. So maybe every other Sunday we're not traveling, we're not playing. That might be it during the season. But our head coach Steve Potvin and I were talking a couple weeks ago, and I said, "This is what we do. This is what we do. This is it. This is us." And last couple weeks, anytime we talk, he always drops in, "This is what we do."
Nice. So let's introduce our, obviously my ratings have gone up quite a bit in the last couple months for, whatever reason. But a lot of the new fans don't really understand, um, the AHL and the ECHL and how that works with the NHL. You are our affiliate, so you're like our little brother. When we get a guy, it's not going to be Tidge. So like if Tidge doesn't make if he doesn't make the team, I was starting to write an article explaining so many people are arguing like he won't make the team, he'll be in Tucson. I'm like, well, not him because he's not 20.
Yeah.
But can you explain a little bit what the role is for the AHL and how our relationship works?
Yep. I can make it pretty simple. Um, we are the AAA affiliate to the Utah Hockey Club. So simply enough, we've had AAA baseball here for 30 years. We are the Salt Lake Bees to the LA Angels. So simply enough, that's that's how it is. The depth guys are going to start in Tucson when there's an injury, when we want to check out one of the prospects, those guys will get recalled. And that's how it goes. The other end of it, Jay, is you hit on the only other confusing thing. If a player like the guy's drafted 2 weeks ago in Vegas, Tej will be one signing that contract that can play in the NHL, and they all could, but if they are playing major junior hockey in Canada, in North America, they cannot play in the AHL until their 20-year-old birth year. So with Dylan Gunther, who was drafted ninth overall in 2021, was in camp, went back to juniors 21, 22, 22, 23, played almost 30 games in the NHL, and we wanted a little more experience, wanted more ice time. We couldn't send him to Tucson, had to send him back to juniors. So he finished the year with Seattle and the Western Hockey League as a teammate of Iginla. And so that's it's kind of one of the rules, one of the confusing things is you're not likely to see a player at the pro level unless they're top 5, top 6 draft pick until their 20-year-old birth year.
Yeah, and I've explained
But
that.
but but if a guy is from Europe, he can play in the AHL at any point. Just as long as like JJ Moser, who just got traded to Tampa Bay, was drafted in the second round in 2021. We had him in the AHL that first year. And he was in Tucson for 2 months before he got called up to the NHL. So that's one thing. But typically those guys are under contracts with teams in Europe that you'll see them finish out unless it's a star like Tej or um a really high pick, a Logan Cooley. He played 1 year at college after being drafted and then last year made his NHL debut.
Yeah, and typically they just won't sign a guy like that if they want to send him back to college. And I've been trying to explain that to people here, and then the more I talk about it, the less I understand. Like I start running other scenarios. I'm like, wait, am I saying that right? Um, what are your thoughts on them signing Teach? Like, I was a little surprised. I get the CHL thing, but I was just a little surprised that they didn't just send him back to juniors for a year. Did you know they were going to sign him right away?
No, I haven't had any insight, any background. Obviously, being at development camp and but not having talked with Bill Armstrong or John Ferguson about hockey. I did not know what the plan was there for Tej, but what a great kid. What a guy. I don't know if you saw I think it was Bill Armstrong went on a sports radio station. I think it was in Toronto yesterday, and he's talking about the suspense when Montreal is drafting right ahead, and we saw, how long and drawn out that was. Celine Dion, is that who made the Montreal pick?
Yeah.
And and Bill's like, we're sitting there and it's dragging on and on and on and on, and we know who our guy is, and then they didn't take him, so we got him.
I was pretty caught off guard by that. I was caught off guard by being in the same building as Celine Dion for one, and just being that close. That was cool.
That
But
was fun.
I thought for sure we were drafting a defenseman. I thought for sure we were going to get that kid out of Denver. I'd seen stuff. I'd listened to Bill talk a lot. Um, then they draft him, and I got to, I get to interview him right away after he gets drafted. And you talk to him, and you're like, all right, this kid says all the right stuff. And then my famous, like one of the most famous pictures I took is Teach doing the U of U sign. So
Yeah.
I'm just standing there waiting in the Uber line, and here comes Tej and Jerome and their whole entourage, and I just started talking to him, and nothing official, just having a conversation with him and his dad, talking about the Olympics and stuff, and just going like, no, this kid's for real. Like he really is. He's been raised right. He's a good kid, and he's gonna fit right in here. Did you get that same impression? Like he's just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Can't wait. And when Bill Armstrong and his group go into a draft, they know what they want and they know who they want. And it's not a lot of discussions from that point. And same thing with Tej, no question.
When we took Cole Baudouin, did you realize were you with the Grizzlies when his dad played here? Was that 01, right?
No,
Oh, you weren't. That's
no,
right. He
I
was in 01.
wasn't. I wasn't, but I remember his dad from the San Antonio Rampage the
Oh,
next couple
okay.
years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so that's what I remembered. I totally forgot that he played for Utah. I knew that he did when he was with San Antonio, but it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So I just remembered it for playing against Utah with San Antonio, but that was pretty cool.
When I saw his name, I'm like, I remember that name. And then I looked it up real quick and I'm like, oh yeah, I sat right next to that guy in one of the camps. Like I totally remembered his dad.
Yeah. Oh,
That's,
totally.
I've
Totally.
been
I
here.
think I remember him from one of my screensavers from 20 years ago that he was on the road. I'm sure you still have that CD-ROM, the Grizzlies screensaver that had all the 0102 team just kind of flashing through.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Somewhere. Um, tell it, you ever watch when you like, cause you get so in depth and you're watching these guys develop. Are you ever like, all right, that today that guy just made the step. You can tell his game came together a little bit more. That kid's getting pulled up next. Do you have that kind of insight now? Do you feel it? Or is there more
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff that we need to know about?
When there's a guy like Matthias Michelli or Josh Doan, Aku Ratu last year who got called up late, you know, everybody knows.
Oh,
It clicks. You're like, all right, next call up, it's that guy.
yeah.
You can tell.
Oh, what a cool spot to be in, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Like I've never had the NHL, so but being a Utah Grizzly guy for so long, and when we were in the A and being in the locker room and seeing it, and just all of a sudden knowing like that guy, something just clicked with that guy in his development. And you can see he's gone. But at the same time, there's been times where I've seen a guy and he clearly stands out in the A and he never gets called up for whatever reason. And, turns out he's not a great guy in the locker room or whatever, but you don't see that part on the ice. What you see is a guy that's dominant, and there's a ton of other parts. Like you can't be negative or, so it's weird to be around that. But I love watching that. I love watching kids hit their potential and become something.
The coolest part of it is we saw it with Matthias Michelli, with Aku Ratu. Maybe the first month got 2 points in 10 games. Like they're not playing bad. They're fine. They're good AHL players. And our head coach, Steve Potvin, is a forward whisperer, and he gets guys going. And so last year we had Akuratu, 2 points in his first 10 games. Matthias Michelli was probably the same in 21-22. It was similar. And then all of a sudden, by January, best forward in the league. So that's another thing we get to see is we've got a great coaching staff. They've developed so many guys. Steve Potvin, John Slaney, forwards, D. So we've got the best in the AHL and developing guys and communicating with guys that don't worry, it's all right. You're fine. Let's work on this. And getting them to understand, okay, this is the process. This is what I have to do. This is what we're doing today. I'm at peace with it.
Yeah, that's got to be tough too for kids like that. They've been the best wherever they're at, and then they get somewhere and for whatever reason they're not the best. That part is a mental challenge that you've got to have the right coaching staff to be able to handle it. Because at 17, 18, 19 years old, when all of a sudden you're not the best, that's a real reality check, and you got to have somebody to help you a little bit further, right? Like somebody's got to tell you, like you just said, it's okay. This is the process. Trust the process. But a lot of kids just don't get it.
Yeah, Steve and I have talked about it. Like, where were we when we were in our 20s? We could have really helped ourselves. But now,
Yeah.
it we understand, okay, this is the route you take. We can help with this.
Yeah, there's another saying that says, "Be who you needed when you were
Yes.
that age." And
Yeah.
that's as a captain for the fire department, that's my motto. As a coach for all these kids that I've coached, I coached travel team hockey here for 19 years, and that saying stuck with me so hard just because, man, that would have been nice. And I did
Yeah.
actually have people. My high school hockey coach here, Bill Miller from Murray High,
Hmm.
saved my life, put me on the right track, made sure I was doing the right things. Actually handled my first. He was a lawyer at one point, so when I was first signing a pro contract to play in the professional roller hockey of all things, he's the guy I called. He was the guy that helped
Hmm.
me get there. So it's amazing. And then that kind of goes to what I want to talk to, and I know we have to kind of be careful how we talk about this, but for all the stuff that's been said about Arizona and where they were, all these people that I've met and been dealing with, from Bill Armstrong and all the way down, and Coach Bear, like these guys are just quality people. Like this organization is just surrounded with amazing people with the right thought process. Unless I'm completely wrong and I'm seeing things through smoke screen because I'm so excited about the NHL. But I've met almost everybody with the Utah team now, and I'm just impressed. Like I cannot believe the potential that's here and the people that are here to help us reach that potential.
You're 100% right. They're they're all unbelievable. And Bill arrived in 2021, but it's a culture that's really grown. We've had equipment guys since day one, and you know our coaches in Tucson, our staff in Tucson, it's all been there since day one. We've added pieces in the organization, but that's one thing that everybody involved in has done a great job in is hiring great people that you you want to be around. And when you're with people you want to be around, it just that's just the first step of everything.
Yeah, it's the culture thing is real and it is hard to build. And when you get it right, something's going to click. And I've talked to Stanley Cup teams and Stanley Cup winners and even AHL winners before, and I'm like, what is it? What makes it click? And he's like, at some point, everybody just believes in everybody else in the locker room, and it's that culture. It's not one thing; it's everything. It's that everybody buys into the system, and I think we're there. Like I think we're so close to being there with everything that we've got and with the draft.
I agree. It's been this is I mean Bill said it last week at the press conference before the inter squad scrimmage at development camp. He's like, I hired Bear and then I traded the entire team. Like it the amount of assets and draft picks and the pain that this team has gone through to build things the right way is year one in Utah could is going to see a really exciting group that's been part of that, and the assets acquired, for in the trades and the free agent signing, and in Tucson, same thing. Last year, we've been going through a rebuild too, as part of the process. And last year, all of a sudden, we go from seventh place to second place, and that's just the beginning. That doesn't even scratch 99% of the prospects that we're going to start to see when they hit their 20-year-old birth year and are ready to start playing professionally. And then you're going to see even more starting to come up, which is why Bill has been so strategic with the cap space, with the roster, because there's so much that's already there and is coming.
And it's such a long game. Like fans don't get it. I didn't get it. I thought I got it. I thought it's always a 4 or 5 year game, but it's not. It's a way longer game than that because you can build to be good and be competitive, and then it all falls apart. Or you can build like what they're doing now, and you start to see it a little bit more now. And you see it with other teams now too. That you want to build, be good, be competitive now, but you have to build it right so that foundation's there. So you're not just good for 1 year or 2 years, but that you're consistently good for a long time. And
Yeah.
it's painful to get there. Our fans get it here with Utah Jazz, right? Like we
Mhm.
thought we were there 2 years ago, and then they traded off like the biggest superstar we'd had, and then all the supporting cast, and they're like, nope, it's not time. We're going to use those assets to get longer assets that'll stay in Utah, longer term assets. So it's something that's I don't know. It's a long game and it's fun to watch though. And you got from your seat, like you said, you guys went from sixth to second. And who's going to be our surprise players this year? Who do you think? Because I've been going over the roster a little bit. Who do you think was on the roster last year that maybe didn't get any call ups that you expect to maybe really compete for a roster spot in Utah this year?
Vlad Kolyachonok is a D man. He's not, on the projected top six, right? That people have thrown out there, but he is probably your first D call up if he starts with the Roadrunners. Akuratu, as I said, got that first NHL game, last game of the year last year, point a game after the first 10, where he had 2 points. We saw him at development camp last week. Mikko Matikka, another guy from
Uh,
Finland, Michelli Ratu, Matikka, who's winning the national championship at Denver last year. I think as we look at the roster, as it's been for the last several years in Tucson, it's been so deep. The question is going to be not necessarily who's the call up, but what's the need. And when you identify the need, then you know who you're calling up,
yeah.
because you could call up anybody.
Yeah, that Matiki kid was pretty impressive. Another kid that I was really surprised with. I don't know what we end up doing with him. I don't know how much of the camp you got to watch. I was actually really trying to get Bear to say something about him because I was sitting with Greg Lieb, who I trust a lot. I trust his opinion a lot when it comes to scouting a player. And we're just sitting there watching. We're just talking. And then like we watched something kind of caught our eye, and then we watch him a little bit more, and it caught our eye again. And then we just focused on him, and I'm like, this kid is standing out. And it's that Owen Allard. I don't know if you saw. We picked him up, I think, in the fifth round, and
Mm-hmm.
that kid was a steal for the fifth round. Did you get a chance to see him at all?
I talked to him. And I know people that know his family, and it sounds like just kind of the pretty much the same model of finding a great person who's a great hockey player. But I agree with you.
Yeah, he's. I really wanted Bear to say like because at a fifth rounder, and I almost just laid it out. And I'm like, is there anybody that surprised you that maybe you picked up later in the draft today that looks great on the ice? Or, you picked up on the draft last week and looked better on the ice today than you expected? Or maybe looked like the best player on the ice. And he's like, I'm not going to get excited about
Yeah.
watching you guys skate up and down in lines. I'm like,
Yeah.
there was some stuff.
Bear does not evaluated at a development camp.
No,
That's
and
the message.
I got it. I totally got it too. But I was like, you had to see what I saw. I wasn't there to
Yeah,
evaluate it either. But I mean,
sure.
the kid was
I
standing
know.
out.
No, I know. I like his response though. I've heard it 4 years in a row.
Yeah. He just won't. He doesn't bite. He knows what I was
Yeah,
going for too, and he wouldn't
yeah,
bite.
yeah.
But that was fun. What do you think of Josh Doan? Do you think he stays up the whole season, or you think he starts in Tucson?
He was one of the guys. Like we we got him out of ASU March of 2023. Played 14 games. Our three playoff games. Went to best of three series. We got eliminated in the third game by Coachella Valley, who went all the way to the Calder Cup finals, and we almost knocked them off with that seventh place team who was straight, blue collar and heart and just blood, sweat, and tears. And Josh was a late addition to that team. So we got him for 14 games. And with that 14 games and those three playoff games, we're able to evaluate Josh with our GM, John Ferguson, and our coaching staff. Like, all right, Josh, going into the summer, these are our next steps. And, as you would expect, somebody with the last name Doan, they take the information and times it by 10. And Josh came out last year and set a team record in goals. And probably by February, we're like, all right, when are we doing this? I can tell you, when we got the information, okay, be ready. It was at the All-Star break in January when we got the be ready from management that Josh is going to get recalled and have everything ready to celebrate that. So, and then it was when it happened, it was late March and he went up there. What was it, 9 points in 11 games? And as hard as he works in the off season, I just can't wait to see what's next for him.
Yeah. And again, just such a great kid, man. I had him as a guest on the show, and he's just fun. Like just a hockey player, man, and just a good dude. And it was so much fun to talk to him. And I'm gonna end up
He's
having to have this father son, like, because with Bodwins and Iginla, and now you've got Dawn. We're gonna just have to have a big father son episode to get everybody in on it.
Yeah, yeah. Josh is one of those people you feel like you've known him 20 years and he's 22 maybe, but yeah, he's just an amazing amazing person. And you encounter guys over the years that become close personal friends that you stay in touch with forever, and Josh is one of those guys.
Oh, that's good to hear. Like, he's one of the guys that says hi to everybody on the way
Yeah.
into the building, I'm sure. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Wait
uh,
till you see his cowboy hat. Hope he breaks that out early.
yeah,
He's a cowboy.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait. All right.
He
Well,
stole the show on country night last year with his walk in, and it's just how he dresses.
nice. Love to hear it. Um, I get, I told you we'd make this quick, and I probably kept you a lot longer than you meant for me to keep you.
Oh, I'm
Um,
great.
what
I'm
else?
great, buddy.
I know, but you're out there sweating in the heat. What else do you think? What else do you think the Utah fans need to be prepared for this year as we make our approach into the first NHL? That's question one. Question two: what did you think of the Delta Center watching the game there?
Thought it was great. I hadn't been in the building a lot. I think when it got renovated and they put in the new video board, I'd been in there once or twice, but I hadn't been on suite level and downstairs on event level by the locker rooms. And gosh, it feels like a brand new building. And that's that's not even scratching the surface. So really, really impressed. Gorgeous building. Felt like I was at, you know, when I walked into Amway Center in Orlando for the first time in 2013, I'm like, holy cow, this is a nice place. Pepsi Center for the first time, right?
No,
Some of the newer buildings that kind of came along a little after the Delta Center. And walking in the Delta Center on Friday for the first time in a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a beautiful building, and I don't even recognize any of it. So really impressed, and it was fun to be in that building for hockey for the first time for me since uh 90s, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 96, 97. 'Cause I hadn't been in town for any of the Frozen Fury games, but with the team, what the fans are gonna love is they're gonna see Bill Armstrong. One of the things that when he made the hire for Andre Tourigny, Andre Bear built families. The story he told at his press conference was 20 years ago. He's in a restaurant and Bear's there with his junior team, and he's watching just how the guys interacted with each other, how Bear interacted with his guys. Like, this is a family. You're going to see that family on the ice, and you're going to feel part of the family. And they are going to play so hard every night. And if they're down 2-0, 3 minutes into the game, it'll be tied at some point. So they are an unbelievable group, and excited to see the pieces that have been added. I've got to tell you about one of my favorites, Mike Carconi. Michael is how it's listed in the program. You can call him Mike. Uh, he joined us in Tucson for the COVID year. And he'd been in the AHL 6 years. He'd played for Utica and Toronto, and he just signed with Nashville on a two-way contract. He was going to play for Milwaukee. And with the bubble and the return to play, Milwaukee did not play. They were one of three AHL teams in 2021 that did not play. And so they sent most of their players to Chicago to play for the Wolves. The Predators did. And Mike Carconi was available. And the Roadrunners, with the taxi squad, and we had guys that would have probably played in the AHL all year that were part of the taxi squad, and we needed another forward, and we went out and got Mike Carconi, led our team in goals, just came in, brought the family, his two little boys. It was different. The whole year was weird. It was a bubble year. We could go to and from the arena, to and from the grocery store, and not go inside anywhere, not eat anywhere. And so we were just kind of all together. And Mike is here with a bunch of people he's never met, with with Mia, his two little boys, and boy did he ever become a Roadrunner. Led us in goals, had a 4-goal night, had a 6-goal weekend, and signed to a 2-year contract that offseason, set another goal record for us 3 years in a row. Last year, led the AHL in scoring, earned a 2-year NHL contract last summer, played for Team Canada and Andre Tourigny at the World Championships. So if I've made any sense in any of this, telling you about Mike Carconi, watch out for Mike Carconi, because he's going to score some goals, and when he's in that right wing circle, that's where he's going to wind up from next. So watch for Mike Carconi.
Oh, I'm excited. You pumped his tire, and I can't wait to see him
He's
play.
he's one of my favorites ever, and so is Mia and his two little boys, Lennon and Eli.
I love it. I
They're
love to
not
hear it,
as
man.
they're not as little as they were 4 years ago. So
Oh, I love to hear it. And I'll tell you what you were saying about the heart of this team, because last year, with all the stuff that was going on, and as a former Kings and as a former Golden Knights fan, I have given up all that fandom. I was watching my teams try to make the playoffs and then go play Arizona and not win, which
no,
you thought they were supposed to win, but Arizona kept coming out and beating these teams they weren't supposed to beat. And you
yeah,
started watching them a little bit, and I started watching
they're
Ingram. I'm like,
fun. You
and
heard,
yeah, it's
yeah,
just like they're good.
yeah. you've heard throughout the league about watch out for this group, and now adding pieces and now having guys that are a year older. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Adrian, you're going to have to check in with us a few times this season and let us know how our prospects are doing. And love to have you on the show a few times. If you're ever scrapping for somebody to come in and talk nonsense on your show, call me.
Yeah, I totally will. Call anytime, Jay. Thanks for having me, buddy. Good to talk to you.
This is Adrian Denny. Thanks so much, Adrian. Jay Stevens, that is the Utah Puck Report. Want to give a special thanks to Chipman Roofing. These are hockey people supporting the hockey community. It's Chipman Roofing. For all your roofing needs, just check out chipmanroofing.com. And if you like what you hear on the podcast, please leave a review, leave a rating. Wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you give us a rating. Like to check out kslsports.com as well. There's going to be more hockey on there. As more hockey comes up, it's going to be always right there, kslsports.com. Big thanks to Madison Miller for putting up with us and making this thing work.